Well, in this year of the pandemic, let me take this off so that we can talk. Special K has sort of crept into our lives. We learned about it, I think, when we moved here to Billings about 17, 18 years ago. And we heard about it and we started attending the dinners really because Billings Clinic, where we work, has always bought a table for the dinner, and we found about, and so we would go as representatives of Billings Clinic and learned a little bit about the ranch. And then we found that our son's friends were showing up at the ranch, and Ben plays basketball, and he played through the Billings Special Olympics, and so we would meet basketball players at the tournament. And Ben, we sort of got a diagnosis for Ben of autism back when he was 4 or something. And as everyone who's listening to this is well aware, every individual, just regardless of what diagnostic label we have, including for you and me, it is their own self. And also when you talk about developmental disabilities, development happens, and you never really know what people are going to make of their lives. And Ben was always this combination of pretty smart guy and real trouble with judgments and putting things together. And he graduated from high school and got himself a job, and we found him an apartment, and he lived for about 5 years on his own with a part-time job, with a lot of support from a therapist and a speech, we call her his social thinking coach, and with a lot of backup from us. And I must say, shout out to the Department of Pediatrics at Billings Clinic, because the nurses there were always a big support for him. He would come by to say hello, and they would just be wonderful with him. But we really worried because he really needed a lot of that support, and he would get, although he had a lot of friends and always was very busy and doing stuff, he would feel lonely, and he would express this and really get down. And we had a hard time with that, and realized also that we were not going to be around forever. There's no guarantees in anyone's life. And so we were thinking about what sort of long-term situations we could have for him that would give him that support. And our thoughts turned to the ranch, and we learned a lot more about it and came out to visit and talked him finally into trying it out when we were lucky enough to be offered a spot. Boy, Ben has grown so tremendously. Are we going on 3 years now, I think? The first year was, I must tell you, tough. I told him that he had to commit to a year if he was going to give this a try, because with any job, you really need to give your employer a commitment. And he was very good with that. He said, yes, you have a good point there. And so he made the commitment. And at the 1 year point, which was Labor Day weekend, so yeah, it's been just over 3 years. So at the 1 year point, that Labor Day weekend, he and I sat down and talked about the pluses and the minuses. And his house mom at that time, Kathy, had made sure that he was doing that periodically. Write down the pluses and the minuses about it all. And it was just so hard for him to learn to live with people under sort of group rules, where he'd been doing whatever he wanted, more or less successfully, for 5 years before that in his own apartment. And he decided that there were probably more pluses, and so we decided to keep going. And now 3 years later, I frequently hear from him, this is a really good place to be. And especially comments like, now with the virus, this is a really good place to be stuck. There's a lot of activities that he really enjoys. He used to be insistent on coming home at least every month because he wanted to get online and look things up and read about things and use his phone to talk to his old friends and stuff, which was always fun. But I hardly even hear about that anymore because there's some activity going on, and so he doesn't want to come home. But he's also been very accepting of that. friends who do see him when he comes back tell me all the time, he has grown so much, and he really has. His self-confidence, his ability to work with other people and recognize their needs and recognize how they support his needs have been wonderful. His ability to just live in a house with other people and accept those compromises. And he enjoys the work. He always wanted to be a farmer when he was little. I have to remind him of that now. But it's sort of perfect. He enjoys the work with the animals. He gets, I think, a lot of satisfaction about doing the plantings. He enjoys very much when he's told that he's an asset to the crew. That's really, really valuable for him. And that's been a wonderful experience for us and our whole family.